Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining. Today I want to talk about my experience applying for an MFA in film school, and let me start off by saying it's been quite the journey. If you're thinking of applying to film school, the first piece of advice I would give you or grad school in general is to start as soon as possible. Number one, do not wait until a month before it's due to start because you may think you have all the pieces that meet their requirements. You know, a script you wrote a few years back, a short indie film you filmed with your filmmaker friends a few months ago. And then when it comes time to go through your checklist, you realize those projects may not even fit the requirements, or maybe you weren't experienced at that time and did the project and it's just not something you want to show the admissions board. So give yourself enough time to go back to the drawing board when you need to. I spent the first few months writing this documentary. I was so excited to shoot it. And then I realized recently, actually, I wanted to do something completely different, like comedy. Luckily, I started early enough that I had time to spare and time for emergencies, like when my actor backed out at the last minute. So luckily, I had enough wiggle room to reschedule the shoot and cast someone else. Number two, approach the project in pieces and have a game plan. It's going to seem overwhelming when you try to do too much too fast. So assess what is going to take you more time and effort to do. And for me, it was my personal statement because I'm not the best at writing about myself, and you want to make sure to work on it on a daily basis to allow for edits. Some people do better chipping away at different projects all at once, but for me, I can't really organize my ideas and my thoughts that way. I prefer to finish one project at a time to also feel accomplished and feel like I'm moving along in the process. So, like one thing to check off my to do list. However, when I feel stuck on one thing, I will work on something else just to refresh my mind when I decide to jump back into that other project. So I'll have new eyes. So it's just what works best for you. Just be sure to have a game plan and give yourself a reasonable time frame to get the puzzle piece moving along instead of letting it sit there with no momentum. The key is to keep the momentum going, even if you can't see the end of the tunnel. Number three, I also learned the importance of time boxing. Between this application, my YouTube, and UGC, I have never time boxed so hard in my life. For those of you who don't know, time boxing is when you make a list of tasks you need to get done, you rank them by importance, the most important at the top, and you set a time to get the task done. Being able to do that allows you to utilize your time efficiently and give yourself no time for bullshitting and procrastinating. It also feels so good to finish a task and see how fast and how laser focused you become when you know there's a time limit. You don't even make time to doubt yourself. I've learned is when you're running against a deadline and the project you need to get done involves creative thinking. Turn to your surroundings, your community, your resources for inspiration. When you're in your head worrying about having to finish the project and all the what ifs, you're not focused on generating good ideas and you're just wasting time. When I hit a wall with my short film, I went online and I watched a bunch of award winning films to get inspired and then spitballed with my friends and family to generate even more ideas that never occurred to me. It was amazing what came out of that. Whenever you're in a creative rut, just remember all the inspiration you need is all around you. You just have to be open to receiving. Enjoy the process. I think this was the biggest lesson for me, and I think it's natural to sometimes get caught up in deadlines and life and not remember to enjoy the process of whatever you're trying to achieve. I've always had this ridiculous fear of writing personal essays about myself. So when it came time to write it, it took me forever because I had already blocked myself from letting the words and the feelings flow. Once I stopped resisting and fearing the process, I was so surprised at how easy it was to finish and how everything I wanted to say came across to whoever was reading it. Versus before, it was just a bunch of words I, robotically put down without giving it much thought. Same went for my script. Every time I received feedback and had to go back and write certain scenes, I dreaded it and I wanted it to be done. But then I would remind myself this is what I wanted to do as a career, and I sacrificed a lot to be able to go through the process 100%. Um, and not have any distractions. I put off getting a job. I stopped hanging out with friends, and I prioritized all my time. And that to me is like a really big privilege. But at the time, I wasn't enjoying the process and it showed in my script. But once the light turned on and I was able to get into the moment, all my ideas came out so easily. This doesn't apply to just film school. This is with anything you want to do. There's a joke in my family about how when I had to write my college thesis, my parents would ask me if I was working on it. And the deadline was coming up pretty fast. And I would respond with, I work at my own pace. And it's still true to this day, even with deadlines. It's a catch 22. You don't want to not work on your project, but sometimes being able to do that means having to step back until you have a clear mind to allow ideas and inspiration to come. When you're worried and stressed about having to come up with a solution, you're blocking yourself and your brain and body go through flight or fight mode or survival mode. So you end up feeling more stressed that the solution isn't coming. I remember having this moment, and then I realized I started all of this in the first place because I enjoy it so much. I enjoy every aspect of film. And whenever I get a chance to do something related to film, whether that's being on a set, editing a video, acting, or writing. There's no other place I'd rather be. You want to get into that mindset, even if it's considered work, because then it doesn't feel so much like work. So don't be afraid to allow yourself to go through the creative process, and the creative process includes being able to step back when you need to relax, do something unrelated, and then come back. It's still going to be there. Be honest with yourself and be authentic. When I first decided to apply to film school and I had to write my personal statement, let me tell you, I wrote so many drafts. Not because of my writing, but because I wasn't being honest about why I wanted to go to film school. I just said I wanted to go to film school. And then when I talked to my family and loved ones about it, they had to dig it out of me. They said I need to really dig deep and ask myself why. It couldn't be surface level. It had to be a want so powerful that I can't live without it. That's the place it has to come from, or else why would the film school let me in? I had to answer why me and why now and convince the school to choose me over thousands of other applicants. But I couldn't even convince myself why me and why now. That's why I think it's really important to ask yourself why you really want this and not why you think you should do it. Whatever next step you decide to take in your life. When I decided to go to UX school, I decided to do it with film being the end result instead of just going for film, because to be honest, I was scared and I just wanted to make money. It wasn't a good enough reason to spend thousands of dollars to go to UX school and then do nothing with the certificate. Don't get me wrong, it is a great skill to learn, but it wasn't something my heart was fully in, and I didn't want to be stuck in an unfulfilling job. So be honest and be authentic. At the end of the day, that will always reflect on what it is you're working on. Have courage. I have spent the last few months working on these projects that are required for this application, and I've cried, I've lost sleep, I've had moments where fear hit me so deep because I didn't know what was going to come out of this, if this was the right decision, should I have a plan B, etc. But what I've realized is that fear is just a normal feeling. It's just your body and mind protecting you from the unknown. The unknown can be scary, and as humans living in a high stress society, we tend to go into default dread mode because that's what we're used to. So I've learned to lean into that fear, the fear of not pursuing what I love so much, the fear of not doing what I love, and the fear of failure. And I use that as fuel to keep me going. and I don't have time to think about all of the doubts. In my personal statement, I talk about how I've been so close to death because of lupus so many times. And if that has taught me anything, it's that life is fragile. So when it comes to your dreams and aspirations, you have to go all in or not at all. No, I don't know what's going to happen in the future or if I'm going to get into film school, but I do know that I've gained a lot of life skills and industry knowledge along the way, and that I can come out saying I gave it my all. And that is all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video brings you some comfort and insight for any big project you're working on or just with projects in general. I know that was a lot of talking, but if you have to take one thing from today's video, it's have fun. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you later. Bye.